When a screaming protester stormed New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in January 2026, most people saw it as one angry man losing control. But here's what they didn't see. This wasn't random chaos. It was the latest strike in an epidemic that's quietly overtaking America, and your church could be next. Between 2000 and 2025, 246 shooting events tore through houses of worship, 402 victims, 307 dead, and it's accelerating. Church attacks exploded from 50 incidents in 2018 to 485 in 2023. That's more than one attack per day in 2024 alone, across 43 states. The faith-based security network has been sounding the alarm since 1999, but most congregations still aren't listening. What happened when Pastor Jamal Bryant and Dr. Karri were confronted wasn't just a disruption, it was a warning, and the 5-minute security gap that followed could have turned deadly. What happened at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in January 2026 is part of this disturbing pattern. An unidentified man entered the church grounds that Sunday morning and began shouting condemnations at the congregation. He accused Pastor Jamal Bryant of being wicked, denounced the church as corrupt, and launched into a prolonged tirade that combined religious accusations with deeply personal attacks. According to video timestamp evidence, nearly 5 minutes passed before security arrived to escort him off the property. 5 minutes of unchecked confrontation while families, children, and elderly members watched in shock. Church member Alfreda Smith told WSB-TV, "It's crazy, it took way too long. Like I would be scared, anything could have popped off." Fellow church member Irvin Gray expressed similar concerns, suggesting the church needs more security at the front entrance. They should have a male right there at the door with the greeters, he said. Their concerns aren't unfounded. Research shows that around 17% of Protestant churches in America lack any security measures. No armed personnel, no metal detectors, no active shooter plans. For megachurches like New Birth, which draw thousands of attendees and national attention, that vulnerability could be catastrophic. But to understand why this particular church keeps being targeted, you have to go back to 2010. That's when New Birth became the center of one of the biggest scandals in modern American Christianity. Former pastor Eddie Long had built the church into a powerhouse, 25,000 members, national influence, political connections. Then, 4 young men filed lawsuits alleging that Long had used his spiritual authority to coerce them into sexual relationships when they were teenagers. The men, Maurice Robinson, Anthony Flagg, Jamal Paris, and Spencer LeGrand, later joined by Santino Kemp, detailed years of alleged manipulation and abuse. Long settled the lawsuits out of court for undisclosed amounts. He never admitted wrongdoing. He died of cancer in 2017, and his accusers declined to comment at the time of his death. But the damage to New Birth's reputation was irreversible. Church attendance collapsed. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, NBC News, and ABC News all covered the scandal extensively, and the story became a national symbol of alleged hypocrisy in megachurch culture. For critics, New Birth represents a church that never fully dealt with its past, that prioritized image over accountability, that swept unresolved sin under the rug. The January 2026 disruptor specifically denounced Eddie Long by name and rebuked Jamal Bryant, connecting the church's current leadership to its controversial history. To people like him, New Birth is a symbolic target, a representation of everything they believe is corrupt about modern Christianity. And then there's Jamal Bryant himself. Understanding why he attracts such intense criticism requires looking at his documented personal history. Bryant admitted he fathered a child with a parishioner while married to Giselle Bryant, leading to their 2009 divorce. His relationship with his ex-wife, a star on Real Housewives of Potomac, played out on reality television. During the show, cast member Monique Samuels branded Bryant a holy whore and produced text messages showing he admitted their reconciliation storyline was just for entertainment purposes. Bryant acknowledged these mistakes in interviews on Condi Burrus's podcast and the Hardly Initiated podcast in November 2024, accepting responsibility for his infidelity. Just weeks before the January 2026 disruption, Bryant made headlines again when his new wife wore a flesh-colored gown to a gala. Critics called it inappropriate for a pastor's wife. Bryant defended her publicly, saying, "I bought the dress and I like it." Complex, The Christian Post, and Fox 5 Atlanta all covered the controversy. For conservative Christians and confrontational street preachers, these incidents aren't minor stumbles. They're evidence that Bryant represents a megachurch culture that prioritizes celebrity, image, and viral moments over traditional pastoral values. But there's another dimension to the targeting that most people missed. The January 2026 disruptor accused Bryant of racism, a charge that seemed bizarre until you understand the political context. In February 2025, Bryant launched a national boycott campaign against Target after the retail giant rolled back its diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments. He called the initiative Target Fast and announced it would be indefinite. Complex and Forbes covered the We Ain't Buying It campaign, as Bryant positioned himself as a champion of civil rights and economic justice. For some conservatives, this kind of activism isn't standing up for equality. It's reverse racism. It's divisive. It's anti-white. The disruptor's accusation of racism wasn't about traditional bigotry. It was likely a direct response to Bryant's progressive political activism. This wasn't just a theological disagreement. It was ideological warfare playing out in a church sanctuary. The man who disrupted New Birth represents a documented movement within evangelical Christianity. Confrontational street preachers who believe that causing offense and outrage is actually a sign they're doing God's work. Reuben Israel founded groups whose style is distinctly aggressive, creating what religious scholars describe as a generation of street preachers frequently unable to differentiate between being persecuted for the Lord's sake and being persecuted because they're simply being jerks. According to investigative reporting by Sojourners in 2020, the Street and Open Air Preachers of America conferences have trained thousands in these confrontational tactics. These individuals see themselves as modern-day prophets, speaking truth to corrupt religious institutions, challenging what they perceive as compromised faith communities. To them, getting escorted out by security isn't failure. It's proof they hit a nerve, confirmation they're on the right path. The louder the pushback, the more convinced they become that their message is penetrating hardened hearts and exposing spiritual complacency. And here's what makes the New Birth situation even more disturbing. This isn't the first time the church has been targeted. In November 2019, 2 men released pepper spray into the congregation during a service while Pastor Bryant was preaching. WSB-TV covered the incident as people ran out gasping and screaming. Bryant stated at the time, the enemy was unleashing weapons of mass distraction to coming to God's sacred sanctuary and declare war. The DeKalb County Police Department investigated, but the attackers were never identified or caught. That means within just 5 years under Bryant's leadership, New Birth has faced at least 2 major disruptions, creating a troubling pattern of violence and intimidation. This isn't random occurrence or coincidence. The church is actively being targeted by those who see it as a symbol of everything wrong with modern Christianity. These repeated attacks suggest a coordinated effort to silence Bryant's message and undermine the congregation's faith. The fact that the perpetrators remain at large raises serious questions about security and whether authorities are taking these threats seriously enough. The broader question is what happens next. New Birth is a megachurch with thousands of attendees, but like 17% of American churches, their security protocols may not match their vulnerabilities. In an era where church attacks have quadrupled since 2018, that gap between visibility and protection could prove deadly. The January 2026 incident revealed systemic weaknesses: the 5-minute security response delay, the lack of screening at entrances, the absence of protocols for handling aggressive confrontations before they escalate. Church members are now demanding answers. They want to know why it took so long for help to arrive. They want to know what's being done to prevent the next attack. Because in a country where church violence has become an epidemic, there will be a next attack. The only question is whether churches will be ready when it comes.
Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.